Welcome to Art Industry Media's first live multicam event, which is brought to you by the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Cabelli. This live is called Why Video. And why video? I can remember ever since I was a kid, I've used video, hey, what's up, Peter, for everything. I've used it for job interviews, college applications. More recently, I've used it for networking, and if I'm being honest, I've even used it for dating. Sorry, Wendy. But you've been using video too. You've been doing everything virtually through a lens because the world has been completely flipped upside down. You've used it for celebrations, whether it's graduations or weddings. You've used it for business Zoom meetings, which I know you're sick of. And we've used it for learning. Everything has gone virtual. So why video? Because of those exact reasons. Now, we want to go over everything on why you're using video, the way you're supposed to, and how, the best way. So we want to talk about strategy. We want to talk about production process, and we want to talk about marketing and advertising. So why video? Well, let's find out. But first, here's a word from our premier sponsor.
Your life is changing every day.
We've all seen changes in schools, at work, and in our everyday life.
At M&T Bank, we've adapted with you, and that's what community is all about. To be there for one another.
And how do we help one another? At M&T, we want to provide you with the confidence to continue to move forward. In New York, a lot has paused, but not our commitment to you.
M&T is committed to giving you more choices, which means more possibilities.
We are here for you. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
So I think everybody has really learned how important video is lately, and our first panelist today is David Vogel, and I'm so excited to have him on. David, you actually took a lot of time out, and we talked about things before the show, and I was so ready to go into talking about the video process. And when I learned about your company, Social Proof Local, and you explained to me about certain things, you basically said to me, hey, we need to back up, and we need to talk about your strategy. So that's a nice lead-in for you, David. Welcome to the show. What is the first step, really? I just answered it, right? But what is the first step, and what do I think about when creating a video?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. So the first step you really want to take before you ever move into the video production realm is taking a step back, looking at your business, and really defining the strategy that you want to execute. You want to understand, why do you want to make a video in the first place? What is the outcome that you're looking for? You want to think about the goals that you're trying to achieve from that video. And there are many places that you can use video in your business, at the beginning of the funnel, at the end of the funnel. So you really want to think about that before you invest the money into video production.
Now, I heard you say goals, and I think for a lot of, especially small businesses, when they think about a goal of a video, maybe to increase sales, is that the main goal that we're thinking of? Is there a better thing or a different way to look at that strategy?
Well, like I said, you can use video at any point, or you can complement any of your marketing strategies with video. So lead generation, certainly your outbound marketing, video can have a big play there. So if you're looking to generate leads for your business, certainly video ads on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube is a great opportunity for you. YouTube ads is probably the best kept secret out there, because the first 30 seconds of those videos are free. Until someone clicks on them. But you might be someone who's looking to increase awareness to your brand. And in that case, you might want to be thinking about things like video blogging. And then also, you have a website. There are a lot of businesses that have websites today. Obviously, it's very important. That's really your business online today. You might have issues where people are coming to your website, but they leave after 30 seconds. So video can really have a strong play in terms of conversion on a website, with having content on your website as well. And there's many different videos you can have there. And then one of the last things that I'd mention about video in terms of strategy is, if you're networking, video can have a strong play in that realm as well. And we can talk about that more specifically.
So I'm curious, so we just talked about some strategy. Can you give us some examples specifically, and maybe an example, I don't know if you have one, of where video can actually make an impact?
Well, I think video can really complement. So when you're thinking about video for your business, I mentioned this briefly before, it's something that can really enhance everything you're doing right now. So if you're a business that email marketing is a really important part of your lead generation, well, you can integrate video into your email marketing, improve your open rates, improve your conversion rates. If you're someone who's using social media, number one piece of content shared on social media is video. So you can both organic shared content as well as paid content. If you are building sales funnels and sending people to landing pages where they're going to find out more about your brand, having a video on that landing page can really enhance the effectiveness of that. If you're networking, one piece of advice I recommend: you meet someone, you can respond back to them via text with a video message. You can do this on LinkedIn. You can do this through your phone numbers. There's really a lot of different strategies you can use. Those are just some right off the top of my head.
And the last one you mentioned is very unique, and I think something that people don't even think of. There's actually two that you said. One is in the text messaging. The other one is in the email. I actually heard somebody recently say, because I was actually talking to another person, was a client complaining about the views on their videos, and they were complaining about social media and saying, these algorithms are killing me, and that's why nobody's seeing it. And the response of the other person was, have you even thought about email? And they said email is the last place where there is no algorithm. So maybe you want to touch on the reason why you would even think about a text message or an email in terms of a video strategy.
Sure. So with so much noise in the marketplace today, you really want to find a way to break out of that and be different. And so, that example I showed, texting, I think it's like a 98% open rate. So why not use a platform when so many emails are going to spam and junk folders? Why not use another method that people open right away and get that immediate engagement? And just remember that with video, the beautiful thing about it is it isn't something that you only can play in one place. You might have a branding video on your website, but that doesn't mean you meet someone at an event that you can't text them that video through text message, or you can reshare that on social media, whether it's through LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. So you really want to reach people where they are, and in as many ways as possible, because there are a lot of these, you talk about algorithms, a lot of social media platforms, even if you have people that are friends with you on Facebook or connect with you on LinkedIn, in many cases, they're not going to see that content. So you want to hit people in as many channels as possible.
So if video can be such an important tool and a valuable tool for something in your personal life, or if it's business related, why do you think, in your opinion, that a lot of businesses are not fully utilizing video or taking full advantage of that tool?
So there's a couple things there. I think one on the DIY or the self-produced content. I really think businesses should look at video as something that they do self-produced, as well as hiring a professional to create content. But I think there's a lot of fear when people are thinking about video blogging or doing a how-to video. And I really encourage everyone who's watching today, if you haven't done video, to really just start. And unfortunately, the first video you make is going to be bad, and just accept it. And there's the learning curve. You'll get better every time you do it. You'll find you're much more comfortable in front of the camera. And then on the professional side, people are concerned about the cost. There's so many data points. There's so many studies and statistics around video that show that it improves engagement, improves conversion. I think it's 68% of people buy a product or service after watching a video. So there's really a lot of compelling reasons to invest in video for your business. And as much as it might be a significant cost, you're going to see a tremendous benefit on the backside that's going to justify that return on investment.
So I know you talked about all this, and you're bringing up really such great points. And I know that we can dive like so much deeper into some of these. You're really giving like a surface look at it. So these are all like really good things to ask yourself, I believe. And you kind of touched on this, but maybe you break it up into different examples. You're going to answer this in your own way, but where's the best place? I'm sure people are asking this all the time. Where is the best place for me to post a video? How do I know even where to post this? The best platform, the best place. Where should I be? How do you answer that?
Well, sorry, great question, Jeff. So I think the first thing with a video, you want to upload your videos to YouTube. It's a free platform. It's owned by Google. It's the #2 search engine in the world. It will help your SEO on your website if you embed those videos on your website. So that's certainly a given. You don't have to use YouTube if you don't like the referred videos or the recommended videos that provide. You can use a platform like Vimeo. But every social media platform today has what's called native video. Native video means that you are uploading that video directly onto that platform as opposed to sharing it from another platform. And the reason why that's so important today is every one of these social media platforms want you to stay on that platform. So for instance, if you take a video that you've uploaded to YouTube and you share it in a post on Facebook and you say, check out my video on YouTube, well, Facebook, their algorithm, they're not going to show that to as many people as you think because you're encouraging people to go to YouTube. And so that's why native video exists. You want to upload your video to Facebook as well. You want to upload your video also to LinkedIn. From a strategy standpoint, you really want to think where your audience is to be the most effective. So, for instance, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's a lot of different platforms out there. You want to understand where your audience is and certainly share that content there. But you want to be able to. You should be posting it in other places as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, and I'm going to have more follow-up questions. I feel like I could really talk to you forever because I want to dive so deep into stuff, but I also don't want to take up like a whole bunch of time doing it because it's really something that I think for any company or person that they're going to have to really dive deep into this. It's going to take a lot of research. It's going to take some time, but I think like what you're getting at is really you're building the foundation of a plan to really have that video execute the way you want to, because I'm sure you've heard it before and people come and say in some way, hey, how come my video doesn't have this many views? How come it didn't go viral? And I don't know if their strategy was to make a video go viral. You could have an example where somebody gets 1 million views and no sales. Well, what if you got 100 views and you got 100 sales? And obviously those are exaggerated numbers. But maybe you could bounce off of that a little bit in terms of, when we started saying this in the beginning, it's like, what should my strategy be? So, is your strategy sales conversions? Is your strategy brand awareness? What are you really trying to get? Am I starting to ask the right questions if I were thinking about making a video?
Well, I think one thing that we haven't talked about that's important, that's related to what we just said, is there's really 3 pillars when you're thinking about video marketing. There's the strategy, we talked about that. There's the video production, and we have people on this call that can talk about that. But the third part that goes back to what you said about, hey, I made a video and no one sees it, it's not working, is really talking about the distribution plan. You have to have a plan in terms of how you're going to get in front of people's eyeballs. You can do it organically like we've talked about, but there's paid advertising. The reason why these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube are around, Google as well, is they want you to pay to play. And you really do have to have that balance between organic as well as paid. If you want your videos to be seen, you need to be considering how you're going to get that distributed. You could be even talking about, strategic alliances, influencers to get your content out there. So you need to think about distribution as well. I really strongly believe in some of the social media platforms for paid advertising as well. Organic is very powerful, especially if you want to be consistent with that kind of content and build that following, build subscribers, build followers to build that distribution. Because, just making one video and having no followers, you're most likely not going to have anyone see it. On YouTube alone, 200 hours of content are loaded every minute.
I didn't even know it was that much, and I thought it was a lot. We have about 1 minute left, so I'm going to ask you the last question, and I hate to even tell you have 1 minute to answer such an important question. But obviously, we've spent a lot of time talking about video, right? And video can be it could be a very important tool in your marketing process, in your strategy. Is video all I need? Do I need other things to support that? Should I just do video? Should I not do anything else? Just try to tie that up in a bow in 1 minute if you can, David.
Great question.
Is having video enough is really the question.
I think it's one piece of a larger puzzle. And I think it would be foolish for a business to just 100% invest in only one thing. Just like with, investing in the stock market, you want to diversify. And you have to remember that your audience consumes information in different ways. Some people are more apt to check out an email, and so videos in an email might be a better way. Some people just love being on social media, so you want to go that way. And if you're doing lead generation, you're going to be paying to ads to be seen where your ideal customer is hanging out. But one thing we didn't really touch on it a lot, but your website is really the place that you're doing all of this to drive people to your website. And, having videos there is really important. That complements your web design. It complements, you should have video testimonials. You should have a branding video. You should have profile videos there. That is really kind of the hub of your business. And everything else is just driving traffic there, whether it's social media, whether it's email marketing, whether it's thought leadership. I think it needs to be used in collaboration with what else you're doing in your business to get your message out.
David, I wish I could sit here and talk to you for another hour, because honestly, I'd probably get some information that I could use for my business. I'm sure the audience felt the same way. For them to get more information on you, I would look up David Vogel, Social Proof Local. He is a digital marketing specialist, and if he just got the wheels turning a little bit, I'd call him up and dive a little deeper on these issues. But that's all the time I have for this segment, David. I really appreciate you having on. I think we're going to need to talk again, because I think we should record another segment that's not live and give people a little more in-depth of the things we just briefly touched on. But David, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and all the best. Thanks.
All right, so next up, we're going to have Grand Street Media on. But before we do, we just have another commercial break. So we'll be back right after this.
The LMC Media Production Van is a fully equipped mobile production unit. This custom-built van has cutting-edge professional video and telecommunications technology, high-definition cameras, and accommodates a full production crew. Interviews and events can be easily live-streamed from remote locations to the LMC cable channels and social media. This mobile unit allows for broadcasting from anywhere in our tri-municipal community and beyond. Sporting events, graduations, concerts, festivals, parades, and more. The LMC Media Production Van is ready to go whenever you need it.
Hi, I'm Matt Sullivan, Executive Director of LMC Media, and I'd like to thank AIM for giving us the opportunity to present our state-of-the-art mobile production van. Our ability to go live from anywhere at any time has proven useful for local graduations and sports contests, streaming directly to parents' and fans' phones when they couldn't be physically present. Now more than ever, we've witnessed the power of video production. From emergency communication to at-home learning, to Zoom business meetings, video is an essential part of our lives. It's what keeps us connected. I hope we're all able to learn about the invaluable media tools and resources available in Westchester County. And keep an eye out for the LMC mobile production van in your neighborhood, and be sure to give us a wave when you see us. And now, let's get this show on the road.
Welcome back to Art Industry Media's live multicam event. It's hosted and really produced by the Hudson Valley Gateway of Chambers, so it's just a special shout out to them for allowing us to do something as special as this. And that's, to do a special event, you need some special people, and I've known these two gentlemen right here for a long time. Jesse Guma and Lowell Friedman, they run Grand Street Media. Can you guys just give me an overview? I know you really well, the audience doesn't. Can you guys just let me know a little bit about Grand Street Media?
Grand Street Media is an independent production company, full service from creation to development to production to post-production. We do animations, commercials, TV shows, live action, basically everything. We're the Swiss Army knife of production. We do about 300 shoots a year, and they vary from corporate videos to Sesame Street to a television show or a movie. So that's a lot to digest.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great. And I think, one of the changes that's happened with production companies over time, at least in the last 10 years, is production companies were able to do more than ever before. So I know you've worked on a variety of different things. What do you think you've seen, because you've had that experience working on a wide variety of projects? What do you guys see in terms of trends, and what are your clients doing with videos right now?
I think the biggest trend is content. People, we get clients being like, I want a viral video. That's basically somebody asking you, I want you to catch lightning in a bottle and guarantee it's going to be a hit. It's not possible. It's like the lady with the Chewbacca mask. She went to Walmart, got a Chewbacca mask, made a funny video, it went viral. She's on the late night shows. No one could predict that was going to happen. But what our clients are asking is basically consistent content, letting their clients know what they stand for, what they do, what their brand is, what they can offer you is what the content is best used for. I'm sure Jesse has a bunch of other things to add.
Jesse, would you like to add? Hold on, we don't
It's
have
audio.
audio on Jesse. I think Jesse's muted. Jesse, would you mind unmuting yourself?
Yeah, sorry about that. I want to make sure you guys didn't hear me. They commonly ask to get the biggest bang for their buck. So they want to get as much production value as they can. They know things have gotten a little cheaper with the digital platform, so they're looking to get, as much as they can with the dollars that they are spending.
And so I'm sure, Jesse, you just heard me talk to David. And so let's play a scenario. And I just met with David on a business level, and me and him came up with a strategy. And now I'm looking for a production company to hire. What from since you're on the end user, the other side of that, what are good questions for me to ask in hiring the right production company?
First off, I think you want to find people that you can work with and like to work with. So just getting on a call with them, meeting them, making sure you have a similar vision, but then asking questions, for references, examples of their work. All of these things will help you find the best fit for you.
And so just because it happened, one of my questions on there, because I have experience in video production as well, and one thing that's just constantly overlooked is actually sound. Can you talk to me about, because everybody says, okay, I want an 8K camera, I want a 4K camera, I want the drone and all this stuff. So a lot of times sound, a good microphone, a quiet place. But that's just my take on it. Do you have a similar take? And how important is sound to any production?
Sound is probably one of the most important things. I've worked on, Jesse and I've worked on shows that had $350 million budgets, all this stuff. And then the sound department is basically the ugly stepchild, the redheaded stepchild of production. The sound guy is like, hey, that take wasn't good. It was a stunt. Everyone else was firing on all cylinders. A helicopter flew over. The sound guy's like, hey, we need to redo it. Everyone's like, oh, come on, can't they fix it in post? It's like, all right, listen, we see what's going on, but if nobody can hear what is being said, everything you did is useless. So sound is extremely important. And in the current climate we're in, where a lot of people are doing what we're doing right now, like basically a Zoom call, panel, sound can get very expensive really fast, or you can find workarounds. There's, iPhone microphones you can get that have decent sound, so you can make good sound for a low price. But if you're dealing with a high production value, do not skip on sound. Jesse and I have been boned on this before. Hired a cheap sound guy. We get halfway through our day. We're at lunch. The guy comes over to us and is like, "Hey, just want to let you know, none of the sound recorded for the first 6 hours." You're just like, sweet. Basically, so I can throw away all that footage. Nothing is useful, and now we need to redo all that stuff. So sound is very important. If something's out of focus or something isn't lit perfectly, you can get past that. But if you can't hear what somebody's saying, it is not the audience will not forgive you for that.
One of the other things I heard you, because we did some test runs before this show started, just to make sure of some things. And one of the things that you both touched on, you were talking about basically the Rolodex of contacts that whether it's in New York or throughout the city. And I wanted to ask you about if You know, when you hire a DP, and for anybody that doesn't know what it means, it's director of photography. They're like your principal person, is control of the light and the camera framing and things like that. Do you consider, when you're placing for a client a DP or any of the crew, are you thinking of style? Like, is it a good fit with that client, or do you just hire anybody for those jobs?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, depending on, you know, if we're getting hired to do a reality show or just, you know, on the fly interviews or sit down interviews, a documentary thing. So we have our Rolodex of guys that are extremely established people in the industry that's their wheelhouse. If you want somebody if we're doing a scripted thing, a TV show, a commercial, a high-end thing, our Rolodex consists of basically everybody in New York. Jesse and I pride ourselves on our reputation and our connections. So, like, the people we hire are not just our crew members, they're our friends. We go to their birthday parties, we go to their baby showers, all that kind of stuff, weddings and all this stuff. Your relationship with your crew is probably the most important thing you can have, and your reputation as a filmmaker or as a producer is the most valuable thing. Because if you basically are known as somebody that is not trustworthy, you will never work.
I love that you're bringing up relationships, because I wanted to go back, because actually Jesse touched on it before and just talking about relationships and hiring a production company. And I really wanted to ask so let's say, again, back to my strategy. I just met with David. I come to you guys, right, and I have this strategy, but I'm like, listen, guys, I just started out. I don't have a lot of money. Can you build a relationship with the production company? Can I come to you and say, look, this is what I have. Can you make me this, and we can grow together? Is that insulting to a production company? Is that a reasonable conversation to have?
Not at all. I think that's a reasonable thing, and especially if you come knowing that you plan to do more videos, a good production company should want to establish a relationship with you, and maybe the first video is done with some kind of discount with that in mind. Just knowing that there will be videos down the line. So I think if that's something you plan to do, definitely mention that when you start the process.
I like to help people avoid mistakes. This is a really big give back. You know, I hope a lot of small businesses are watching. I hope an entrepreneur who's thinking about doing this, who's watching this, is thinking about making videos and really accelerating their business in that way. With that in mind, because budgets can get expensive, but obviously mistakes can be costly too. Is there any tips that you can give to help somebody just avoid, like, putting you on the spot a little bit, both of you, but what are just some of the most common mistakes that people make in hiring a production company and in making videos?
That's a loaded question, and we could basically unpack that for 3 hours.
There's a lot of
What Jesse and I deal with our clients a lot of times is they're like, all right, let's just make a round number, $100,000. We want to shoot this on the moon. We don't want to do it on a green screen. It's got to be actually shot on the moon. And you're like, all right, your expectations are just not fair. Like, you can't do that. You have $100 million, and then you can start talking. So companies come to you and they think they can get everything because they're paying, but you can only get so much for $1. You know, it's like, if they want, we just did a video where our client wanted 4 actors, and they wanted them all in their late 70s. That's a hard thing to get professional actors at that age group. So you can't go non-union, because you're not going to find non-union actors at that age that are respectable and can do the job. So we're like, listen, what you're going to get is, it's going to cost you more money for what you want. Our clients, the specific client, is good with their budget, and they're like, we understand. And then we get some other clients where we tell them, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure. It's going to cost you more money. Doesn't mean we're necessarily making more money. You're going to set yourself up for failure. Like, Jesse and I have one client where we tell them we need scripts by this day, and they deliver them 2 months later. We tell them keep the cast small, and they go from having 3 people on camera to 15 people on camera. They want driving shots, and then they're like, why did the budget go up 150%? They're like, because you kept packing on all of these things. So the most important thing when you're making a video is the content. What are you doing? What is the message you're getting across? You can add all these bells and whistles of, you know, an airplane, a helicopter shot, all this stuff. If it's a pig and you're spending money dressing the pig up, it's still just a pig in makeup. I'm sure Jesse can expand on that. He's got his finger up.
Yeah, my one thing is when you're coming to a production company, have a clear vision, know your budget. If you even have examples of stuff you like or that you want it to look like, have those examples. So then the production company can see that and say, okay, this is something we can do for the budget you have, or the thing you want is way beyond the budget that you guys have allocated for this. So then you can talk, hey, let's raise the budget, or maybe we should rethink our idea.
And you
And I'm
should
sure-
also listen.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing, Jeff. You should also, if you're hiring somebody and you trust them, you should listen to their advice. Like if a client comes to Jesse and I and they say, we want to do this, and we're like, that sounds great, but these are the problems we see happening. And if you're like, oh, that's, you know, I understand that, but forget it. We're going to go on. And then if those problems do come up, it's on you. So listen to your production company. Like Jesse was saying, you want to work with somebody you trust and can have a good working relationship with.
So I don't want to get too bogged down. Sorry, Lo. I keep on cutting you off. I keep
go
on
ahead,
thinking
go
you're
ahead,
done. I don't want to get too bogged down in technicality or technical stuff and equipment, but we do have to touch on cameras because new cameras, it's just like an iPhone. I feel like every time I go to a website, the camera that I thought was brand new is now out of date and things like that. How important is that camera in relation to the content? Is it, you know, if you were to weigh things, is the story more important than the quality? Is it quantity? Like some things like that. Do I need to worry so much about what camera they're using specifically?
We deal with a lot of directors that get bogged down in the equipment. They're like, I want to shoot it on this camera, blah, 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 that. And I was like, all right, what are you shooting? And then they send us over the script. And I was like, this is garbage. What you're making is garbage. So you could either make it beautiful and it's still garbage, or you can just take a step back, refocus, make a good video, and focus on the actual content. What's on camera and what's on the screen is more important than what lenses and lights and cameras you use. You've seen it throughout. I mean, like Spike Lee was the first one to do a digital, shoot a feature film on a mini DV camera. He did something with a B, whatever. It was shot with a VX1000. It's a $2,500 camera. He bought 10 of them and did that. And then the film was shown in theaters and all this stuff. The script was good. It held up. But if you're relying on the equipment to get past a bad script or a bad concept, you're going to fail. You're just basically throwing good money after bad.
The last thing, because I think we have about 1 minute left, the really thing that I want to ask both of you is, can I come to a production company, let's say it's you or somebody else, without no plan, without no strategy, without no script? Is there still a way, and with little money, because this stuff happens, people want to start things, can I still make something happen? Will you advise me? Will you help me save money if I don't have the big money? Can I find a way to do it with you? How do I go about that? Are you helpful in that way? Do you think other production companies are they useful in those scenarios?
We definitely are helpful. We like to brainstorm ideas and be involved with the entire process. We think of ourselves as a full service production company. So most production companies should be, some may not. But yeah, they should want to work with you, develop the ideas. It shouldn't take too long because sometimes you don't want to take up too much time of a production company's hours. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of work with them and work through the idea. And if it's something that everybody can vibe with and like, then it's worth it. And just back to your 4K, if 4K matters, or 8K, just think of the end use. Where is this going? If it's going on just Instagram or Facebook, I personally don't think you have to get 4K or 8K or 6K. So just think of where it's going. If it's going in a movie theater or on TV, then 4K might be useful.
You know, that's really all the time we have. I appreciate everything that both of you brought, because you really worked in almost every facet of production, whether it was, you know, be an actual production assistant or a director, producing, shooting, editing. And again, it's the same thing I said about David. If you want to find out more about these guys, they're awesome. Go to grandstreetmedia.com. They could really help you in any level. They're just a really good resource. I'm constantly picking their brain for things that I want to do, and that's why I wanted to have them here, because I'm lucky I get to talk to them every day if I want to. So I would highly take advantage of that. Jesse Guma, Lowell Friedman, thank you for being on the show. We have one more panelist, Hudson Fusion, but before we get to them, another quick word from our sponsors. So I am lucky to have these two ladies on because they're from Hudson Fusion. They're a marketing and advertising company. And I want to bring Nicole Wallach and Christine Baldelli on because, just so you guys know, I just had full conversations with David about my strategy, and I just hired a production company with Grand Street Media, and now I need somebody to put this out there. What am I doing? Help me out. What questions should I be asking you guys? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but like, what am I supposed to do with this thing now?
Start with your intent. Right? Was that a serious start question? We should go right into it.
No, you know what I think about? You know, even if somebody came to you in that way, so like I'm ready to go, right? I have a strategy and I have a video. Really, what kind of questions should I be asking you? What should I be asking of myself in terms of now just really executing it and putting it out there?
Sure. I think now think about distribution, right? And so what was the intended audience? Who is this video for? Why did you create it for them? And what is your objective that you hope to get out of them viewing this video, right? If it's for brand awareness and video is step one, have you considered all the other pieces of the buyer's journey or the sales funnel? Do you have video or other content assets to support that? And now that just because you shot the video doesn't mean that people will see it or that people will come. And so what are the promotional vehicles that you're going to use to get this video in front of the audience you originally intended and produced it for?
So now I have a series of videos, right? I made this plan. I want to put it on many platforms as possible, but am I thinking too much? Should I be thinking about quantity and just overwhelming or saturating, you know, with my videos, or am I thinking about quality, or is it a mix in between? How do you answer that question?
I think that we would say it really depends on your audience. So if you focus on who you're targeting, you may not necessarily need to distribute in mass. You may be able to focus and target where you distribute for maximum impact. But if you are trying to gain brand awareness, if you're looking for more top of funnel acquisition, you may want to have a broader distribution plan where you do consider multiple channels and ways to get your message out through video.
So now, can you guys both talk to me about top of funnel versus bottom of funnel? Because I like to think that I'm smart and I know a lot of things. And when you first said that to me last week when we spoke, I didn't even know what you were talking about. Do you mind explaining what that is and how we can look at that in different ways?
Yeah, of course. So top of funnel, think about strangers, right? So there's strangers out there, ideal prospects, ideal customers. How do you get them into your sales pipeline? And so top of funnel is where they start. You kind of get a bunch of leads and you drop them into the top of the funnel. And through educational brand awareness strategies, educational is key, top of funnel. You move them to middle of the funnel, right? Where You get a little more intense with the content. Maybe you're talking about consideration topics, things that are more in depth. But the goal, right, is to kind of spit them out the bottom of your funnel into a sale, into a customer. And so the visual is literally a funnel, where at the top it's really wide and you dump all these leads in the top. And then you have great content like video to educate them and kind of pull them down through the bottom of the funnel, at the end spitting out a paying customer. I don't know if Christine, there's anything else you want to add to the funnel talk.
Yeah, I would love to add that the majority of clients that come to us, they always want bottom of funnel leads. And they often ignore the fact that they need to consider top of funnel and really think about educating on a higher level. So I would say any brand, especially a small business looking for awareness, don't ignore the fact that you have to educate, that you have to nurture, and don't think that you can walk into a marketing agency and just say, bring me only bottom of funnel leads, because it's not an effective strategy. You really need to think through your audience's journey from the top of the funnel through the bottom and try to give them media, including video, that will be of interest to them and meet their need. And I think that's a piece of it that often brands forget. They want to tell the audience what they want to say about their brand. They don't always think about what their audience needs to hear or wants to hear. So really focusing on audience and making sure that you don't forget they don't always come in at the bottom of the funnel, and they're still valuable at the top.
Is the idea behind top of funnel to basically leverage and give yourself brand awareness, and it's a longer play, and to have patience rather than bottom of funnel where it's like, okay, I'm going to do these quick hits and get sales conversions right away? Is that the basic idea?
Right.
Yes.
So go ahead, Christine.
Well, we consider bottom of funnel leads really low hanging fruit. So where can we meet an audience where they're going to automatically see your video or your piece of content and convert into a call or a sale? And ultimately, that's really a very ideal situation. But if you don't consider that you need to bring people there as well and just try to go for low hanging fruit, eventually that dries up and you don't have a long-term plan, and that strategy isn't comprehensive enough to sustain you for much time at all.
So now, how have you both seen, for your company, how have you seen, I guess, budget dollars shift? Have you seen in the last year, the last 5 years, more of the resources go to video? Have you seen a shift, and how is that working out for folks? Did they not hear me?
I would say,
hear
you. I would say that we've seen budget shift specifically in the past few months to video and interactive media. Obviously, we've got clients that need to engage with their audience, and they don't have a way right now to be in person with them. So virtual event strategies, interactive media strategies, all of those things have increased. And so we are definitely seeing budget shift toward video and toward interactive media in general.
So just because this came up with both David and Grand Street Media, we both kind of joked about it, and I'll joke with you both as well, because it sounds like we've all had clients come to us and say, how come my video didn't go viral? Is that just the wrong intention from the person who created that video of what they wanted, and how do we steer them in a better direction? So, because I don't know if they know what they want. You know, views doesn't mean sales, and vice versa. So what is the psychology maybe that we're trying to help with? Why didn't my video go viral?
I think expectation setting, right? And going back to the original intent. And so if your goal is, I don't know, let's say 20 new customers, if those 1 million views don't turn into paying customers, or that Chewbacca example, like what did people buy based on that? What Lowell was talking about. And so I think it really goes back to the intent and the objective. And I think resetting or recalibrating expectations, and figuring out the best strategy and plan to get you there to that end game. I think viral is kind of that buzzword, and people gauge their success based on that instead of looking at, oh, I put this video in and my, click-through rates in my emails are soaring, or, I transitioned 75% of my social media ads to be video and I'm seeing my conversions there increase, or, I think it's looking at the wrong metrics. And so what are your KPIs that you're after? And sometimes like, why is viral even one of them is my question.
So one of the things I also wanted to ask, because we were talking about strategy, effectiveness, and obviously videos, for businesses big and small, it's kind of a dual part question. And so how do I even measure my strategy if it's working? And if I don't like it, or if it's not working, can I adjust my strategy, and how do I even do that? Like, what are the measurements and how do I go about that?
In terms of measurements, really you have to level set at the outset. What are you looking to accomplish? What are the metrics that, as Nicole mentioned, we are going to track for you over time so we can gauge what works? And ultimately, it's different for every brand. Some brands come in and they want some type of conversion. Others just want a watch on a video and they want people to learn more about them. Others are educational. They want their product or their service to be learned about by their audience. And so ultimately, we will look at email engagement, we'll look at social engagement, and we will track specific metrics that are unique to our client and help them understand how their media is useful to them in a comprehensive multi-channel strategy. So ultimately, I think it is a really custom set of metrics for each client, and it depends on their long-term goals, their short-term goals, and we usually develop strategies for how to track and gauge effectiveness of any piece of content.
So you just brought up something again that's interesting, and you brought up emails, and David brought that up in the beginning where he was actually talking about text messaging and emails, and that, at least text messaging for me, sounds like a very non-traditional strategy, and we had talked about this off camera before the show started. Is that a non-traditional strategy, and what are some things maybe that somebody can do that, again, is overlooked or they're just not thinking of, or something you advise people, whether it's creating an experience with your brand or doing emails or text videos and things like that? Do you have any other examples of just non-traditional strategies that maybe people aren't thinking of?
Nicole, did you want to jump in there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So a good example that comes to mind is a client of ours. Majority of their networking every single year was done in person. They traveled all over the world. And so thinking about ways to get in front of these same people, we haven't tried text yet. So David, we might steal that idea from you. But doing personalized videos in email, sending a quick, handwritten note to accommodate that. I know that's not video. But making sure that you're really personalizing that message. Now when there's so much like content clutter, right? Some people, jumping on the bandwagon, or there's just more to break through these days, making sure that you're sending the right message to the right people. I think the vehicle can be, as simple or as traditional as, anything that typically comes to mind. I think the non-traditional component is not sending the same message to the masses, right? So there's different audience segments made up of individuals, and just taking the time to carve out a unique message for those unique individuals. That's something that I've seen a lot of success with over the last few months.
Yeah, and I think that's huge, and you just brought it up again. I think it's the second time you said it, Nicole, and Christine, you can answer this too, but I want to go back to identifying your audience, because I think that's really big. And actually the next segment that comes up is a pre-tape interview that I did yesterday, and everybody will see it tonight, the full interview, but he really talks about identifying his key audience and how that was such a huge advantage for them. Have you seen a lot of businesses before they meet you just directing their videos at the wrong people, or just to get the masses, like you just said? And are they not laser focused in on their audience? Is that a common, I don't want to say mistake because I hate to call it a mistake, but is that a common misconception?
Misstep. I think apps 100%, and even beyond that, they're not even really considering who's the masses, right? Like when I say who's your audience, the amount of times that we then have a kind of full workshop to work through those things, it's really taking 50 steps back and figuring out your own brand's DNA, like who you are, what are your values, who do you help, how do you help them, why do they need your help, and then from there who you are. You kind of pinpoint your different audience segments, because it's really rare that a brand or a business has just one. You might have a primary audience segment, but there's always secondary segments as well. And then the messaging and the content that those segments need are always different. And then each segment, each individual, they go through that user pathway, that buyer's journey. And so making sure that you have the right message for the right people at the right time to fit their needs. That's something that I would say is more commonly overlooked than not. It's something that, Christine and I and the Hudson Fusion team enjoy, fleshing out and helping brands figure out their own DNA and how to communicate effectively to the right audience segments. But something that you'd be surprised how many brands have not thought through those steps before spending a ton of money to produce something or, throw ad dollars behind a campaign based on not a hunch, but, the subjectively, this is what I want to say to this group of people without really understanding those, core foundational components.
So now, Christine, I know that both of you would if I came to you and said, hey, I need your services, you would have a lot of questions for me to steer me in the right direction. What are some good questions that I should ask any agency before hiring them and moving forward with them?
I think, one of the great questions to ask any agency is how have they achieved success with similar brands in the past? What are the ways in which they have implemented tactics and methods for propelling a brand forward? And really listen to what they say, because if they give you examples of work and of successful accounts that they've managed, those successes can often be reflected in the work that you do with them. And I also think that you should request some information about the expectations they will have for you as a client, because I do think that's often overlooked. You have to be collaborative as a client, you have to be open, and you have to be willing to be wrong. We just talked about audience, and one of the biggest things that we see as an issue is that brands come to us and they think their target audience is one thing, and it's actually not. And that's something that we often have to correct through testing. We have to actually take lists and demonstrate to them, hey, these are the people that you want to be in front of, but they really don't care about your content or your brand or your message. However, we have another list of people that do. So being open, being collaborative, those are expectations that an agency would have for you, and asking them, hey, what do you expect of me is important, because you need to be in alignment there. You have to have the time to collaborate. You have to have the ability, and you have to have the open-mindedness to be able to know that you could be wrong about some things that you thought were 100% correct.
Well, listen, that was my last question. I've enjoyed talking to the both of you. I think we've spoke about 4 times, maybe 3 times leading up to this, and each step of the way in each conversation I've had with both of you, I've actually learned more. So it'd be like silly of me if I didn't talk to you more after the show. But I just wanted to thank both of you for coming on. Hudson Fusion, thank you so much. Check them out. Thank you both for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
We really have one more segment left. So yesterday, it's the way the world works, right? So we have a very busy entrepreneur, and it was really hard to get him to be on a Zoom call like they were, or to patch him in. So we made it work, and we did a very social distance pre-tape interview so that we could get this done. So this gentleman's name is Rayford Torres. He is the inventor and creator of the self-cut system. And I think that he will echo a lot of the things that was said by all the experts, by all the panelists tonight. And I want you to see this full interview, which we teased yesterday. But check out this interview with Rayford Torres of Self-Cut System. So, hey man, welcome. I'm so glad you can make it.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
You run a business. Just explain to me what the Self-Cut System is.
So basically, Self-Cut System is an educational platform designed to teach people how to cut and style their own hair using our first ever portable 3-way mirror for do-yourself haircuts.
How did you even come up, before we get into video, how did you even come up with like, hey, I'm gonna take some mirrors. Like, did you see a need out there for something like this?
Yeah, so the reason why I created the Self-Cut System because I was a frustrated customer. Ever since I was a little kid, I always liked my hair to be short and clean cut. And the only problem with that is that it requires a weekly visit to the barbershops. And I remember one Saturday morning, I actually waited not one, not two, not three, but 4 hours for a haircut. And after that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go and buy myself a pair of clippers, and decided to learn how to cut my own hair. And I got so good at it that actually my friends actually asked me to cut their hair. So I actually became a barber at I think age 16. So I was known as Ryford the Barber in my school. And then years later, I just, had this great idea of an invention, and I figured out the reason why guys don't cut their own hair is because they can't visibly see the back of their head. So I went out there and designed the world's first portable tri-view mirror that you hook it in the back of the door, and you can see all angles of your whole entire head, and it comes with instructions on how to fade, cut your own hair.
So you probably spent some time coming up with a prototype, like different designs and stuff, but now you have your thing that you want to sell to the world, really a solution that solves a problem. How do you even start putting it out there? I'm sure video wasn't the first thing on your mind, but you're thinking, okay, I need to market this. What did you start doing in the beginning?
Again, I'm a first-time business owner, and I don't know anything about business, but I know, getting things done. So the very first step is I actually had my own video recorder, and started filming myself and film my friends, them cutting their hair with my product, with my system. And then from there, I was like, I can't do this by myself. So I actually hired, actually went on Craigslist and actually put an ad out looking for a professional cameraman. And it all started from there. And the rest was history. And for me, the importance of having video is key, especially if you have a demonstrated product like mine.
You could spend money as much as you want and make a video and talk about how awesome you are. In this scenario, with client testimonials, basically, you have the consumer using the product and then them saying how awesome you are or your product.
Yeah, the funny thing is, since I launched the company and we started getting sales, it was just like customers were just like sharing videos of them using my product and cutting their own hair. So basically, kind of give them some self-accomplishment. They're proud, like, look at my work, look what I have done. And to us, I was like, wow, like we're getting new videos every single day from our customers. We didn't ask for it. And that made my life a lot easier, because what I could do those videos, do those content, is to actually, share it with, through social media. So that was a huge advantage for us.
Now, I know you have a lot of different types of videos. I don't know which ones want to speak on. When I first met you, I think it was like 8 years ago, you were doing like battles, like self-cut battles. And it was so cool, the videos you used to put together, because you had like a lot of people there. I think it was a competition. Talk to me about that idea, why you decided to film it, and how that went.
When the opportunity presented to me about, let's do a self-cut battle, I was like, wow, this is going to take my brand a whole different level, because the fact that we have events, we have community, we have barbers like actually using our product and pretty much demonstrating it, and just and giving us their positive feedback about it. To us, that's a big plus for us. Videos is very important, because again, I have a very demonstrated video, and what I highly recommend for other for those other business owners out there is to really invest their time and money on getting known. And in order to do that, you need videos. We live in today's generation, everything is social media, and that's the key. Like, if you have you might have the best product out there, the best services out there, but if people don't know you, like, how are they gonna buy your service or products? So that's why videos are very, very important.
So going back, in a sense, did you have a strategy before you did it, or were you just making videos, throwing it out there, and just see what happens?
So my goal was, because with me, what I'm very good at is finding talent, and I'm very good at delegating. So I was very fortunate to meet, a whole bunch of people over the years since I started the business, and I was very fortunate to find somebody who's a professional camera guy who knows what he's doing. Big shout out to Jared. And yeah, so he knows, he understands my vision and the messaging. So that was very important. So it was easier for me to work with him, or for us to work together, because again, this is like a once a year event, my first event, and for me, I just care about the footage, because I know once I have that footage, I could actually put it out there. And one of the platforms that I actually shared it to is World Star Hip Hop. So World Star Hip Hop is like the #1 urban platform. It's like the CNN for the urban market. They had about close to 10 million visitors a month. So what I did was I took that video and put it out there, and I just kept reposting it. So instead, it's like very similar to like direct response marketing or like commercial videos on TV, but I used that video footage, my barber battle event, online on a platform, on social media. So that actually generated into sales, obviously.
Yeah, and that's really important what you say, because I think for anybody, no matter what marketing they do, whether it's video or not, it's really understanding what your audience needs, but also who that audience actually is. So that sounds like you had a very focused attempt. Like, I know that this is the culture that uses it. That's the demographic that wants my product, and you took advantage of that, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah, because it was easier for me to market my product because one is that I know my target audience, right? I am the target audience, so it is easier to market and to communicate with them because I speak, talk, walk, dress like them. So we're in this community where, okay, there's, people can relate to me. I'm like, wow, like this guy, like, he likes to be well groomed. He likes to have a fresh haircut like me. And like, you know what, I'm gonna go and listen to him because he has an awesome product and I could use it myself.
Talk to me about this year, especially with COVID, with lockdowns. Why was video so important for you during this time?
Our sales skyrocketed probably like April, like when there was a rise of COVID, and all the videos that we had over the years, it kind of accumulates, and it's just like, okay, like people that knows about us, they go directly to us without us spending a lot of money in advertising. It all builds up. That's why you really have to position yourself as the leader in your industry. So once like people are like, wow, okay, I can't go to my barbershop, who do I go to? I need to buy myself. Oh, I remember Self-Cut System that was on World Star, or through social media or whatever. I'm gonna go to the website and buy one.
Just for a small business really looking to start doing video, what advice do you have for them?
I think it starts from the business owner. Like, I know some people can be camera shy. I was camera shy before. I was like scared to talk in front of the camera, but now I'm just like, it's like it becomes second nature to me. Because you're the only one who's running the show. You have nobody. So that's what I did. Like going back when I first started, I actually had my own, video camera, and then I actually just, find somebody and do it for me, because like you can't do everything yourself. Maybe in the beginning, and honestly, I try to do it myself. I don't have the patience for it. I don't. So that's why I'm just very fortunate that we have the funds to actually hire a full-time camera crew, and yeah, and it's a great investment to have.
You grew into this, so I know for a lot of small businesses, cost process can be a stall. They hesitate on it because it's like, man, I just started, I invested all this money, whether it's a storefront or whatever they have going on. There's a lot of investment starting a business. Sometimes video is kind of at the end, and now you need it, but you grew into it. Over time, you develop relationships, because like the way, if you're working with a cameraman, and you like their style, because I actually, right now I have like 3 different cameramans, and every one of them has a different way of filming and editing. One guy is good at interviewing people. The other guy is good at, the way he filmed things. Like, he looked like it's like a cinematic movie, And so over time, you have a relationship with them, and obviously as your company gets bigger, obviously it'd be nice to kind of pay them a little bit more. So that's how it works, from my experience. There's so many things you said during this interview that I know are going to echo what a lot of the panelists have talked about earlier. So that's great, and thank you for being on this. I know whoever's watching has gotten a lot of value out of this, especially since you have walked the walk. Redford, thanks for being on the show, man. No, thank you for having me here. There was really so many great messages from tonight, and I just want to do a little recap. As you can see, Ryford really echoed, I said it in the interview, I almost knew it was going to happen. He echoed so many of the things that we talked about tonight. David talked about how strategy is key. What's your goal? So Ryford had a strategy. He had a clear goal. He knew exactly who his audience was. He didn't upload without a plan, which I think is something we touched on. Grand Street Media talked about relationships. Ryford talked about relationships. You can grow into a partnership that works well for both sides, and I think you should feel comfortable going into that. Ask for references. Don't be afraid. Ryford shopped around, talked to one person, hung up on him, talked to another person, was the right fit. Now he's got 3 people for different styles. Also what we talked about with Grand Street Media. Find the style that's going to fit for you with the budget that you have. When you get more money, spend more money if that's what you want to do. Hudson Fusion talked about what the brand needs. Know your audience. Be open to criticism. I'm sure that Ryford did some things and had to, change his plan, redirect, and do some things. So that was really a great recap, just to show that's the proof in all of this. Ryford really took what could be like very simple steps, and as you dive into those, they'll seem more simple. They're going to seem overwhelming at first, but as you get a hang of it, again, it's just like you grow into a bigger budget, you're going to grow into the knowledge of what you're able to do. And then just to recap on all of this, I think it's so important. This couldn't have been done without a couple of folks, right? The Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce has been so supportive of this program. Could not have been done without them. That's what a Chamber of Commerce is really supposed to do. It's really supposed to promote and foster, business relationships, and that's exactly what they do. And then, of course, M&T, who's our premier sponsor. Nino said in the commercial that was made that, a lot of things in New York has paused, but not, our commitment to you. There's a reason why they walk the walk. Right? So without their sponsorship in this event wouldn't even happen. So honestly, without even worrying about the consequences of saying this, M&T is my bank. I feel so comfortable going there. They're a local bank that cares. They show it by supporting us. And we just had a great night. I hope this was entertaining and informative, educational. I'm going to follow up with probably each of the panelists and do more in-depth, because there's going to be a lot of feedback, maybe some more questions, or you can just reach out to them yourself. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you to all of our sponsors, for everybody that makes this happen, everybody behind the scenes. There's more people than you can imagine in the studio. We're really grateful that we were able to do this when so many things are being shut down. We're so able to offer you something of value that you can enjoy. So I'm Jeffrey Cabelli. I've been your host, and thank you for watching.